Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth. And now the Friday Crime Report. Chester, New York, Friday, May 2nd, 2025, 9:50 p.m. The town of Chester is located 50 miles north of Manhattan, but just the same way that there's a whole bunch of two-faced liberals in New York City, outside of that town, you got a whole bunch of open-faced bigots. A 24-year-old Doordash driver was lost while trying to make a delivery and was trying to get directions. He arrived at the Valerie Drive neighborhood in Chester and approached several homes asking for directions before arriving at the residence of 48-year-old John Riley III, who is also the highway superintendent for the town of Chester. Well, he was chosen and elected by the people of Chester, and that being the case, he's one of their representatives. And I'm certain that if you have a lost motorist asking for directions, especially a young kid, he would definitely be the first to make a good impression, right?
Go!
Chester Highway Supervisor John Riley is allegedly seen here in this leaked video taken on his own Ring camera with a firearm strapped to his back and another in his hand, as he seemingly fires 3 shots at a lost Doordash driver who was trying to get away in his car.
The Doordash driver was already leaving, and yet this Riley character opened fire on him anyway. The driver wound up getting shot once in the back. That lets you know everything you need to know about this coward. And just look at how this clown came out of the house. Just goes to show this is their culture. The mass shooters, these idiots, all have some Call of Duty tough guy fantasy image of themselves that they want to try to play out. Doesn't matter if you're a pot-bellied punk like this guy is. The next day, the New York State Police arrested Riley and charged him with assault in the first degree, criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree, and felony criminal possession of a firearm. Last week, he was indicted on 1 count of attempted second-degree murder, 2 counts of first-degree assault, 1 count each of second-degree criminal possession of a weapon, and second-degree assault, and 8 counts of criminal possession of a firearm. All felonies. Riley has since hired the law firm of Reisner and Kinniff to represent him, and he didn't choose them by accident. You see, the young man that he tried to kill is black, and the law firm that Riley hired just so happened to be the same ones who represented Daniel Penny. So it's pretty obvious what kind of defense that these guys are going to be trying. It's the old I'm white and I say so, let's get all these white supremacists on code. Obviously what he's really hoping for is to hold out for a sweetheart plea deal, and that's what this is really about, and there's precedent for it. Like the case of the FedEx driver in Mississippi who was shot at and nearly killed by 2 white supremacists out there. Riley has since been out on the loose on bail. His colleagues in the Chestertown government are pleading helplessness as to what to do about him. The Chester police have recused themselves from the investigation altogether. Allegedly, they claim because it involves a town official, but we all know the real reason. He's one of their buddies, they're all mobbed up together, and they're not going to apply the law to one of their pals. That's how it is in places like that. The ties between these people out there are incestuous in more ways than one. Riley's arraignment has been scheduled for June 9th. Not only is this not the first time an incident like this has occurred, it's not even the first time that it's happened in New York. 2 years ago in Hebron, New York, Kaylin Gillis mistakenly pulled into the driveway of 65-year-old Kevin Monahan while she was looking for a friend's house. Monahan, standing on his deck, began firing gunshots at her and the passengers in the car. Gillis would be shot dead. And this Monahan character, he also tried a pathetic self-defense claim, claiming that he was just firing warning shots. The exact same thing that this Riley guy is saying. Yeah, just like the thugs in blue, these other creeps use the exact same lies whenever they get caught. In Monahan's case, unfortunately for him, he killed a white person, so the law was actually applied in that case, and he got punished. But sadly, there's plenty of other examples.
This terrifying video shows an elderly man pointing a gun at an Uber driver. She had driven to his home to pick up a package. And she is backing away because he has just shot her in the leg. The deadly confrontation is caught on the Uber driver's dash cam and ends with the homeowner shooting her 2 more times.
Glendale police say Pamela Martinez was a delivery driver for Uber Eats. She was finishing up her final delivery of the night on June 11th when she was shot and killed in the driver's seat of her car.
She'd actually taken a photograph from her cell phone.
That photograph, detectives say, was of a gray van and the man they believe shot Martinez in the head. Rusty French, but they don't know what led up to that shooting.
Authorities say 23-year-old Jasmine Taylor was delivering packages for Amazon in early February before Thomas Coy allegedly shot her using a pellet rifle, and then told police he dragged her body out of her delivery van and left her on the side of the road.
A man accused of shooting an Amazon delivery driver just faced a judge. Franklin County court records say Keith Grubb allegedly shot a driver early Sunday morning on Norton Road in southwest Columbus. The driver was walking away from the home when Grubb allegedly fired multiple shots at him. A judge gave him a $10,000 bond.
You see, these are the kind of crimes that the white media doesn't talk about. These are the kind of incidents that they try to sweep under the rug and allow to fall down the memory hole. And that's why the black media is here, because these things are not happening in the inner city. These are happening in the places that the white media and the politicians and social types try to tell us all are the good places, with good being a euphemism for Caucasian. Well, then why does this keep happening in these suburban and rural areas? We keep seeing this over and over and over again from the dominant society. People who these creeps attack and kill not because they're a threat, but because they've been conditioned to know that there will not be any consequences. This is the end result of hundreds of years of racial immunity from law. When the police, prosecutors, judges, and the white media are all homogeneous, then you get a lying societal narrative, a compliant law enforcement apparatus, and a duplicitous legal system that protects it. There's a reason that local law enforcement in Chester didn't want to investigate this case. Had Riley been black, however, they would have been all over it. Under white supremacy, most of the people who are supposed to enforce the laws also benefit from the same racial immunity that the perpetrators do, so they take the side of the criminals. At this point, given how home deliveries have become such a huge part of this service-based economy, there should have been a number of laws already written long ago to protect delivery drivers from these entitled killers. But there's not. Because at any other time, these politicians would be tripping over their own forked tongues to say how there need to be new laws written and put in place. And yet for this crime, which is an epidemic, there's crickets. And this took place in New York State. Now, we're always being told by the white right that New York is so liberal. But as black Americans know only too well, in every one of these so-called blue states, the reality is there's actually only a few blue cities in those states. And even then, when it comes down to black people, these folks are only liberal where non-blacks are concerned. These incidents of attacks on delivery drivers or just motorists in general who might happen to get lost, these are not evidence of a gun problem. The guns are simply what these cowards use to commit their crimes. The problem is a racial privilege problem. That's what this stems from. That's what drives it. When society chooses to indulge people within it with the reasonable assumption that they will never be held accountable by the laws, of course they're going to be running around killing people. After all, they get a wink and a nod to every one of their acts of incivility or just plain barbarism. Why not move on to murder? What should be happening is these companies should be going ahead and outlawing certain neighborhoods, certain areas like Chester, and just saying we don't deliver those places. Everybody should be on code about that. There should be redlining for these kind of places. Whenever one of these suburban psychos or these rural monsters decides they're going to kill somebody or even threaten them, just say, okay, we're not delivering to those places. But let's not kid ourselves. The individuals who actually run these delivery services, they have a heck of a lot more in common with the John Rileys of the world than they do with their victims. That's a huge part of the problem too, and that's the reason that you don't see them out there advocating for their employees. These corporations will be going to the mat to try to get some tax breaks for their top executives, but they won't lift a finger to use their lobbyists or their corporate coffers in order to get legislation that would protect the employees who generate their revenues in the first place. White supremacy is suicidal on all levels, and because of that it thinks nothing of being homicidal. So the truth is, if you're going to be a delivery driver for one of these services, nobody's got your back, you might as well have your own. Because the next time that a John Riley or any other suburban or rural creep decides that they're going to call themselves turning a delivery into some sort of lethal proposition, whatever it is that the John Rileys decide to throw at those drivers, the drivers should be ready to return to sender. And that's this week's Friday Crime Report. Keep your eyes open and stay on alert, because there's a lot worse criminals out there than the ones the white media chooses to show you. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors: Mrs. Scott, Brian Ellis, Akmal Griffith, Mary Bass, and Henry Mitchell. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.